Hi. I'm planning to attack my Model 3 today while Sentry Mode's activated. It's a security feature which records suspicious activity near your car. I mean, I don't look suspicious, do I? Anyway, I'm going to use a variety of different disguises and modes of transport to try and get close enough to touch the car without it sensing I was there. I just need to make sure my plan of attack is top notch and my recon is on point. I'll let you know how I get on.
Coming up, amongst several other tests, I see if Sentry Mode is activated by facial recognition with a bucket on my head, or whether it will trigger based on body shape. I'll also look at what I can steal to see if the alarm sounds or not. Right, this is a partly fun, partly factual video, so if you already know what Sentry Mode is, by all means use the timestamps that I've stuck in the description below to jump straight to the testing phase. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it might be worth sticking around in this section, because then that will explain what Sentry Mode is and will put into context why I'm walking up to my car with a bucket on my head and also hopping up to it in a sleeping bag. The Tesla Model 3 has 8 cameras it uses to drive on autopilot. There's 3 at the front, all with different fields of view. One again on the indicator on the far side and another one on the door pillar on the far side. One on the indicator on the near side and one on the door pillar. And then finally one on the boot. And Sentry Mode uses 4 of the cameras to record suspicious activity around the car. One of the front-facing cameras, the 2 indicator cameras, and this, the rear-facing camera. So how it works is, as you get out of the car, you can get it to automatically engage. So you don't have to think about turning it on. A bit like your car alarm. Except if you don't want it to come on when you're at work or say when you get home, you can exclude these places through the settings. And what it does, it puts the car into a light slumber rather than full-on sleep mode. So it's going to drain some of your battery while you're away. There's been various YouTube videos out there and it looks like it drains somewhere between 200 and 250 watts per hour. So in the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, you're looking at about 1% for every 2 hours that Sentry Mode's on. As with most modes in your Model 3, if your battery gets below 20% or it's below 20% when you start, then it won't let you engage it. And if it actually drops below, it'll send you a notification on your phone to say such and such a mode has been disabled because your battery is below 20%. So the reason it's using battery drain is because it's using its sophisticated onboard computer, and I'm guessing artificial intelligence, to figure out what's a threat. It uses the proximity sensors, the camera inputs, motion sensors in the car, and also, from what I've been told, the sound around the car as well. So what's it going to do when it detects suspicious activity around your car? Well, first of all, it'll start recording all the images on the cameras that I've talked about. You need to install an SD card for Sentry Mode to actually start working the dashcam footage. That's really easy to do. The instructions are in the manual. Then it will display a big message on the screen telling the person they're being recorded and basically saying, "Oi mate, I know what you're up to, get out of here." And it goes into what's called the alert state. So it's kind of telling people, don't come any closer, otherwise we're going to up this to the next level, which is alarm state. Now, alarm state is when a normal car alarm is going to sound and then it plays an unexpected noise. Because let's be honest, who listens to car alarms anymore? You hear a car alarm, you're like, oh, I wish that had shut up. I'm going to try and trigger the alarm today and see what that sounds like. So it's sensed you've got suspicious activity, it's recorded the footage, then what you're going to do? Well, even though it's only 6 months old, it's had loads of improvements. It was initially really clunky. You had to get your SD card out of your car, review it on a computer. An update a couple of months ago enabled you to review it on the big screen in the middle. And then the last update actually put a timestamp to say where you have actually had the Sentry Mode event triggered. Rather than watching 10 minutes of footage, you can just quickly flick to the red dot, see what it was, decide whether it's suspicious or not, and then carry on. So it's much more usable. And in the latest update, you had to sign a privacy notice to enable use of that interior camera as well. And I think from what Elon Musk has said, they're planning to introduce that. So if someone breaks into your car, they will record the footage in the car as well, which is awesome. So what are the pros of it? Well, it gives you, it's weird, it gives you peace of mind when you leave your car that it's being protected. As I said when I first got it, the amount of people that came up to look through the car, I think they were curious, to be fair, but then they'd see that on the screen and they'd go away, and it flashes their lights as well to kind of tell people that you're being recorded, which works in your favor in the sense of it's dark, you get to see their face, it's almost like a camera flash. But it's such a brilliant deterrent. No one seems to want to go that near your car because they're like, oh, I've triggered it. The cons, the biggest con is the battery drain. Like, I will park it sometimes at work, it's on for 12 hours, and you can lose 6% of your battery, sometimes more in winter, and that is a bit of a pain. If you've got a Tesla Model 3 long range, then obviously your percentage is going to be less, but it will use the same power as such. So that gives you the background to what Sentry Mode is. It's basically a feature that uses the autopilot cameras to record suspicious activity that you can then review at a later date. So why am I here? What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to try and see what triggers it. So I'm going to try walking up to the car. I'm going to try cycling up to the car. I'm going to try seeing if it's a facial recognition thing. So I'll have the bucket over my head. I'm going to see if it's a body recognition thing. So I'll just be a square in a sleeping bag. Try crawling along the floor. Various different ways to attack the car and see what triggers it, what doesn't. And I'm also going to have a fake break-in where I'm going to play some break-in window noises to see whether that triggers it as well, because it's meant to monitor the audio around the car as well. And then we'll see how it gets on, and I will keep tally how many times I win versus Sentry Mode. Right, so the plan is we'll start off nice and slow. At the top right hand corner you can see a blank screen at the moment. When that lights up you'll see a little red kind of eye. That says that it's identified that I'm close, and there you go, there's the example there. So we're just starting off with a few slow approaches to the car, giving it a chance to warm up, just making sure that it's happy. And you can see on the front approach, a little bit slower to trigger that time, but it did capture me both times. So currently 2-0 to Sentry Mode. Bring a bit of pace into it, bring a bit of a jog, that caught me no problems. And then we'll do it back the other way. And again, a bit slower on the front approach that time. Now I'm going to really add some pace in with a sprint, and you can see the car doesn't detect me on the rear approach. And we'll try it again from the front, but it wasn't that great at picking me up anyway. And there again, yeah. So it didn't trigger when we added some pace. And now we'll try it on my hands and knees. Yep. This is a low point in my life. But interestingly, this stealth attack did not work, even with me poking my head up to peep in, which really surprised me because I was looking directly at the indicator camera there, so I thought that would have picked me up no problem. And just to make sure the test is fair, I'm now approaching it the other way. Please like this video, because I'm a fully grown man, climbing on my hands and knees, all in the name of science. So again, slow to pick me up. But it did eventually. Now I'm not quite sure what triggered that, whether it was the fact I was leaning up and reaching the roof, or whether I hit proximity sensor near the back. The classic statue attack, like you can barely even see I'm moving there. Yeah, don't worry, I was rubbish at balancing. The wind was very strong and it kept blowing me off my feet. But I was sure my stealthy attack would have worked, but it got me a treat there. So now I'm trying the side attack, and it seems to have fooled the Tesla Model 3. And I'm really shaking the car there, and you can see nothing's happening. If you look at the screen, top right hand corner, it's properly shaking. I shook it so much the mic fell off the front wheel, but still no Sentry Mode. I mean, it triggered eventually, but I'd have thought the shaking of the car would have triggered that a lot quicker. So we're just trying the side attack again, and unfortunately I shook the car so hard the power cord came out the cable, so we've lost the Sentry Mode footage at the moment, but I do restore it later. But that test was just trying to see if the door handle triggered it, and as soon as I went to open the front door handle, it triggered it straight away. So I repeat the test on the back door handle. Now this time it didn't trigger when I opened the rear door handle. It did eventually trigger, but it didn't coincide with me specifically pulling the door handle open, so I think that was more the fact I was close to the car. So I'll just try that again and just see if it's any different, and that time it triggered even before I touched the door handle, so it was definitely on the fact that I was getting close to the car as opposed to directly related to the fact I was opening the rear door handle, which is interesting because it definitely seemed like it was triggered by me opening the driver's side door handle. So I thought I'd experiment this time with trying the boot button to see if that worked, but I didn't actually even get close enough to the car to try the boot button. It triggered, it was that quick. So I tried to get a sneak up on the car a little bit this time without it triggering in the hope I could actually press the boot button. And I did, and you'll see that nothing actually triggered on this occasion. Now, I kept playing around with this and started shaking the boot a bit, so you can't really see it so much there, but the car's actually really shaking around. And I thought I'm going to take this one step further and start tapping and banging on the back window. Now, I wasn't pushing that hard because I didn't want to risk breaking my window, that'd just be my luck. But there was some thumps going on there and nothing happened. And then I just wandered around the car to see what would happen. So I think I've exhausted all the different ways you can do it on foot. So I'm now going to try it on various modes of transport. So I've got my bike. So as the car can recognise bikes, I wondered if it would not see me as a threat, but it clearly did without any hesitation. But to be fair, I wasn't technically riding the bike. So this time, riding the bike, we're going to come past with a bit of pace, and it doesn't trigger. But I would have thought I was close enough then to trigger the proximity sensors. And again, riding back past frontwards, still no trigger. So we'll give that another attempt, just to see what happens, see if we can notice anything. and then that time it triggered. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can't see a pattern developing here. I think that was very much the same as the first pass, similar to that one. How was that any different? If you can notice a pattern here, please write it in the comments, because throughout all of this testing, I didn't notice a trend appearing. So if you do notice something, please put it in the comments below, because I'm just intrigued. Now, this one, in my opinion, the car should have definitely recognized me as a threat. I've been cycling around the car, I've been close to it, I've just shook it, nothing. I swing my bike round, so that could look as a threat as well, and still no trigger. And I'm right near the rear proximity sensors there as well. So I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty gutted if this hadn't picked this up as a threat. Now, with all the Sentry Mode tests, I'd put the phone on airplane mode, I'd allowed the car plenty of time to trigger into Sentry Mode, because quite often what happens is as you lock the car, it doesn't automatically go into Sentry Mode, it takes a few minutes to work. So you can see on that occasion, I'd managed to try the rear door handle, nothing. It was only when I actually tried the driver's door handle that it went into Sentry Mode and triggered into alert state. Now, I like to try different forms of transport, see if it recognises other stuff. So this time I've got a skateboard. Yep, I'm skateboarding on a bumpy field, and I'm not a very good skateboarder. And unsurprisingly, it saw me as a threat. I think I'd see me as a threat. I'm dangerous on that, look at me. I did not anticipate, I'd planned to attack it with a snowboard as well, but then realised there was no way that was going to happen. In case you're wondering, yes, I have taken all my meds. This is all in the name of science. Mainly because I wondered whether it would recognise faces and whether that's part of its algorithm to recognise threats or not. Which, so far, I mean, looking at this footage, it hasn't recognised me, and I do have a bucket on my head. Somewhere there's a plane flying over and a child looking out the window going, "Mummy, there's a man with a bucket on his head acting casual on a car." And the mum just going, "Don't be so silly, child," looking out the window and then calling the ambulance to come and help me. But as I said, all in the name of science. You can see I'm properly touching the car, I'm all over it, proximity sensors, and then I take the bucket off and look what happens. Now, is that proof that it has facial recognition or what? So, that wasn't expected in the test. Now, this was literally a few minutes later, but just proves how quick the UK sun changes. So I went down the facial recognition route, I pulled a shawl over my head, and you can't really see on the camera there, but I've actually got it so you can barely see my face. There's just a little hole so I can see my eyes. Again, you can't see my face, I'm leaning on the car, I'm right next to the car, and nothing. Now, admittedly, it didn't trigger anywhere near as quickly as when I removed the bucket on this occasion, but as I pull my head away here, it does actually trigger, which makes me think maybe facial recognition, maybe not. So I thought I'd go down this route a little bit more and we'd do it a few more times. So I put the shawl back over my head, get the Sentry Mode reset, and come in again at a different angle. But what's interesting this time is you can see that it triggered straight away, exactly the same setup. So what is this pattern? Has it learned that quickly that someone wearing a shawl on their head is a threat? Because I tried it with the bucket, and sure enough, this time it picked the bucket up straight away. So is it actually learning that a bucket, a man with a bucket on his head, is a threat to the car? Now, this one, I bought a sleeping bag in a similar style to what those naval ships use to camouflage their distance and their shape, but I bought a more colourful version. Either way, it didn't work, just in case the Tesla recognised body shape. So that kind of exhausts all the walking up tests now, so let's try stealing something from the car. So the phone's on at the minute. I'm going to walk away, let the car lock itself, turn my phone off, then come back and see what I can take through the open windows. Sentry Mode, plenty of time to figure out what's going on. Just reaching quite. Oh, Sentry Mode's activated, but it's not triggered the alarm. And I'm just stealing this now. I mean, can I just stick my head through the window and nothing happen? I'll open that. I'd open the glove box if I could. I can open these, move my speaker. Oh, nothing. Well, so I could have smashed a window, broken in. So for my next trick, I'm going to play a sound of a broken car window through this speaker, because I've been told it does monitor its surroundings with sound as well. We'll see if that makes any difference. Okay.
I don't know what I did there, but that was the alarm. Maybe I put that speaker down a bit too heavy for it. I really don't know. But the alarm works, I can tell you that much. So after proving the alarm is pretty effective, it sounds like it does a beeping noise and then plays some random heavy metal maybe at full volume. I don't know what track that was, but it was really loud, as you can see from my reaction. So I'm just going to experiment now by playing a smash window noise through the speaker, and then I'll come back and try and take stuff as well and see if that triggers the alarm again so successfully. So I'm just trying that because it might be a bit louder through the iPad, but it doesn't appear to be triggering anything. And actually, I've not even triggered Sentry Mode this time, which is strange. Oh, there's Sentry Mode. So it can hear windows being broken, but that was me being outside that seems to have triggered it. And I don't think those noises of glass being broke is making any difference to it whatsoever. I don't know where it might be recording the sound from. Whether it uses anything up here, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything to the car at all. But again, I mean, I don't want to tempt fate here, but I am in the vehicle and the alarm hasn't activated at all. Admittedly, I'm not putting much pressure on anything this time, but compared to last time, this had triggered the alarm by this point. Let's just see what happens if I open some bits. Oh, there we go. No. I thought that beep was the alarm going off. So I don't think, I mean, that was a dangerous position to try and do the window open. But yeah, so I'm touching buttons now, touching the screen, and this isn't doing anything triggering the alarm. Phone's still in airplane mode, so it doesn't think I'm in the car. I guess, what if I try and open the door? Oh, here we go. Okay, so it will trigger if you try and open the door, it appears. So it does seem like it's got some intrusion mechanism because it went off when I wasn't actually opening a door before, but I don't know what specifically would trigger it as you go round.
So for this final test, what I thought I'd do is cover all the cameras up and see if the Tesla Model 3 views that as a threat or not. So I've covered the boot camera that it uses and I've covered the indicator camera. Now what was really surprising here, as you can see by my reaction, was it still triggered, which makes me think it's using the door pillar camera, but we just don't get to see that footage. So it is still using all the cameras around the car. So I've covered up this door pillar camera now and I'm still right close to the car as I was before, but nothing's triggering. And you can see I'm right up close, so if it's got any proximity sensors in that area, I'd have expected them to pick me up. But so far, nothing seems to be working now I've covered up this door pillar camera. So I'll even walk around the back, so I'd trigger the rear proximity sensors there, but nothing. So let's see what happens if I take the towel off the pillar camera and whether that might trigger anything. And although I'm probably too close there for it to actually trigger, you'll see as I get a bit more distance, it does actually trigger. So I think it uses all the cameras around the car, even though we only see the footage from 4. So I'm covering it up again just to double check. We'll fast forward this bit and then let Sentry Mode reset, and then we'll see if it triggers when I pull the cloth away again. And again, my head's probably a little bit too close initially, and then once I pull back, it does actually trigger it. So it looks like it does use all the autopilot cameras when it's trying to weigh up what is a threat and what's not.
Right, I hope you enjoyed that. I've reached some new lows in my life now, walking around a field with a bucket on my head. I mean, can it get any worse? I'm sure it can. Well, that was interesting. So I probably got this slightly wrong, but I made it about 15 to the Model 3, 12 to me. Might be a bit of deviation on there. We'll see what the final scores are when I add the CGI later. But yeah, I was surprised actually how many events I managed to get past without it triggering. I was expecting it to be a lot more sensitive than that, which explains why I do feel that the events when I get back to the car are less now. And I think the biggest surprise to me was the fact I managed to stick my head through the open window and it didn't automatically trigger the Sentry Mode straight off, and it didn't trigger the alarm straight away. And even in their manual, they say that if you leave aircon on or something like that, motion within the car is detected, the airflow in the car is detected and may trigger the alarm. So you'd have thought of my big head going through that window would have triggered something. And I know it did once, but it didn't seem consistent at triggering anything. Now the speaker I used, it wasn't very loud, but again, I was moving it around the car, so I'd have thought it would have picked up on the sound as well. But I'll probably try that again, but with a much louder speaker, because as you can see, I don't know where I put it, but it was a tiny little thing. I mean, it still was playing pretty loud, but not nowhere near as loud as that car alarm. God, that scares me. I needed new underwear after that. I think the good thing that I took away from it though, and I don't know whether you guys would agree, but I couldn't identify a specific pattern of what made it trigger and what didn't. So for example, one time with the bucket it didn't, and I thought, oh, it's got facial recognition and I've fooled it. Next time with the shawl over my head or the bucket, it seemed to trigger. So it didn't seem to recognize that. I was surprised it triggered when I had a sleeping bag on, because I thought it might identify body shapes, means it can visualize humans. I thought that might be the trigger, but that didn't seem the case. So it must be using, I imagine, artificial intelligence to figure out what's a threat and what's not. And if it's doing that, from our point of view, we're not going to know what to trigger it and how to overcome it, which is great, because I was worried I might identify some security flaws, put it on the internet, and then leave all our cars vulnerable. I think I will do another video soon where I'll try and trigger the alarm in different ways as well. So similar to this, because I'm intrigued. I don't know what triggered that first time, and I wasn't expecting that. So we'll see what triggers the alarm. So if you do want to see that, then don't forget to subscribe and turn your notifications on as well. So that's all for now. Hopefully you've got a bit better understanding of what Sentry Mode is, how it works and what might trigger it. Thanks for watching.